They're going to raise you and pass you before mama. And then mama going to call you approved or disapproved. Many are called. Few are chosen. Y'all got to remember that. They took all of our story. They watered it down. They mixed it up. They added smear campaigns, damnation, condemnation, divide and conquer, separation, corruption. They gave us physical diseases and mental diseases. And all of these things is to stop our ascent. But without the opposition, you would never know how strong you really are. And we, being guardians of the galaxy, always knew we were strong. You always heard us talk about, even when they told us we wasn't shit, how strong we were, how great we were, never knowing that we wasn't even showing our greatness yet. The pyramids pale in comparison to the work that we did in the cleanup after these Babylonian vampires, bloodsuckers that required the blood rights. That's why it tell you clearly, the Old Testament God required blood. The New Testament Christ requires righteousness. Do the math, and it's in your face. So it tell you in the New Testament that the Christ came that you can be free from the law and you can walk in grace. How do you do that? Because apparently we're not free from the law. What is the law? It's the law of the Levite. What's the law of the Levite? They're all in there. It's the law of levies, Levites, levies, and liens. Don't pay them folks no attention. I got you. Me and you gonna talk later. The system of levies and liens is what they call the Levite system. That's why it leads with the word levy. The word levy is spelled Levi. They want you to worship God because God is a truth. Now, if you know Grimm's Law of Grammar say all vowels in translation are interchangeable. One of the 12 tribes is called Gad, G-A-D, before they sing the truth. Gad is God. So you know you're worshiping now. So when you say Gad, you're still in their system. Gad is God. Not gut, not the German word for good. That's deception. I'm finna get you all finna crack up with some of this stuff before I wrap this video up. But that's a deception. Gad is who you calling on when you call God. One of the 12 tribes of Israel, and that's why your prayers don't get answered because he don't have the authority to answer them. Gad, that you're calling God, one of the sons of Israel, is not authorized to answer the prayer. That's why you have to attach it to the amen. Because the amen has to exonerate him immediately when you say the prayer and call on God. The amen, the one who is ruling by deceit and deception, behind the scenes, that one has to immediately exonerate the tribe of Gad under the law of Levi. Now, under the law of Levi, when Levi issue a levy or declares you erring, and he issues a rent or a decree, a rent of war, a war rent for your detention, a warrant for your arrest, your restriction. He's binding you in the name of the law. You're bound in the name of the law. When you are arrested, the word arrest means to bound or restrict in the name of the law. So now, how do you get bound? Bound in the name of the law. You get bound in the name of the law as the resort of the war rent. A war rent is a declaration of war on an individual, but it's metaphysical, not physical. But it will leak physical, but it starts metaphysically with the war rent. The war rent is a decree or a declaration of war. This is mysticism, and it's not what you would call law and truth. This all of the stuff that's energetically being placed on you as a spell. The war rent is actually a spell. The spell binds you. In order to free yourself from the spell, you have to identify the rent of war. In other words, you have to identify, yes, GAD, the war rent, and you have to protest it. You have to become a Protestant. But when you become a Protestant and protest the war rent, you have to realize that you're doing it in front of one of the brothers, or a Judahite, or a judge. The judges are Judah. Judah is a judge, right? So that's why they're telling you that the Son of Man is from the line of Judah, but he's not of Judah. It don't make no sense. He's from the line of Judah, but he's not Jewish or a Judahite. He's not a Levite. He's not of the lawgivers. He's not of the lawgivers. And so who does he fall under? He falls directly under the one they say is beloved, or a Dawid. He falls under David because he is an expression of Solomon. How do you know? Solomon means the soul of man. What's the soul of man? The soul of man is a piece of gold that goes in your heart. It's the soul light. It's the ray inside of you. It's your pyramid, the pyro, the fire in the middle, right? So when they gave us all of these stories, they never sourced them for you because that's your job. The right to discovery is why they created a library, in order to bury everything in lies, because you got to dig out the truth. That's your job. So they told you they destroyed the libraries of Alexandria. No, they in the Vatican. That's the Vatican library now, because Rome won that part of the war. You got to remember, they called it Alexandria. Who conquered? Alexander. Who was Alexander? Alexander was the one who went in the Indus Valley to get the military doctrine that he needed to subjugate the rest of the world. The caste system. The caste system had to be adapted. How do you clean up the genetic mess? You tie it back in the source. They call it tying into the vine. If they don't tie into the vine, the genetics fall apart. So, black people that's been oppressed for 400 years wonder why we don't get no awards at the Oscars and the Grammys, and why they don't recognize us when we sell 50 million records the same as they do with Justin Timberlake. You got the pyramids. You don't need that shit. You created music. You don't need no Grammy. You created that shit. You wrote the fucking notes. The original notes of music was written by black women, or as they call black goddesses, that they call them enchantresses. This is where it come from. So, if the white people that you see in the Caucasus, Yaqub's grabbed the devil as a Nation of Islam call them. The word devil means your enemy. That's all it means. In nation doctrine, it means that which is not original. If that which is not original becomes in mediating conflict with that which is original until a synthesis is found. Hegelian dialectic. Hegelian dialectic. You know? So you got to find the synthesis. So what do? You tie in that which is defective into that which is not defective. For a period of time, you will oscillate between defect and no defect until balance is met. And that's the law of mind. So the reason why black people agreed to this suffering and oppression because it was the fastest way. And we were the only ones strong enough. And they was the only ones heartless enough. And when you put it all together and you do the math, you realize it wouldn't work no other way. We were strong enough, smart enough, and wise enough to do it, but we was too loving, kind, compassionate, and caring. We couldn't bring ourselves to oppress ourselves in order to clean the shit up. They never had a family. They never had what you call men of big affairs before the rise. Go back and look at the history from an outside perspective. You see it right there. So Mama wanted them to know what it was like to rule. And she wanted them to understand what it was like to be in power, have power, hold power, and fight the corruption that comes with the power. And so you hear them saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is all what we're talking about. And so, in summarizing it, the white people that was originally there don't exist no more. The level of birth defects is diminishing, so they have to artificially construct birth defects using the modern medicine and the poisoning of the child in the womb to simulate the birth defects that would not otherwise be there. When they stop doing that, is when we tell them that we're not going to allow our women to be experimented on while they're gestating our next generation. And we will stop using hospitals for pregnant women. And all over you'll see what they call doula centers, midwifery, the original stuff. The doula center was the true sources of healing for Earth. And I see you giving me hearts because you're going to be in there on that doula center. You can give me a whole bunch of more of them. I see you. Anyway, so the doula center is where pregnant women go to gestate in peace. Now, the doula center is only necessary for special women because once the family structure is set up in its proper order, the doula center will be in the center of the village. And the women will naturally go there at the time they discover they're pregnant. And they'll stay there until they give birth because they're going to get certain things in the doula center that they're not going to ever get in the hospital. The hospital was never meant for sick people. You got to remember hospitals were hospitality places for sojourners to go at night. Those were the original priestesses of Neith. And that's why the nurses wear the white uniform. Those are the uniforms of Neith. Those are her dress. You go back and look in the pyramids, and you'll be surprised at how much Neith is dressed like a modern-day nurse. Because her place of hospitality had nothing to do with the places of sex that they turned into brothels in the rape campaign, in the subjugation of the woman. And so now we got the whole story laid out in front of us when Constantine is putting this cross-dresser in the place of the Black Madonna in Rome. And because he done this dude been masquerading as the Black Madonna ever since. He's an imposter. The whole male priest, the only priest should be there is what you call your Swiss Guard, which is the protectors of the external reaches of the Madonna priesthood, or what they call your Catholicism, which is the cataholics, which goes back again to the stars tying into the planet, which is your zodiacal sign of Leo, which is the Sphinx, which is the female guardian of Earth, who sits and waits and looks to the west for the Son of Man to rise in the place where the three Orions, Orion Township, and Orion Township and Lake Orion, where the three Orions are, in the right hand of the mother, which is the state of Michigan, which is in the land of the chief of the two feathers, which is the land of the one who speaks the truth. The two feathers is he's standing on his second. All you Moors know what I'm talking about. He's standing on his second and he's speaking from the position of truth. And if he's speaking the truth, that'll go tied directly back into your revelation of he spoke and the two-edged sword came out of his mouth. For the truth cut both ways. It cut the righteous and the unrighteous because don't nobody want to hear it, because don't nobody want to be accountable. But it's too late. We've all been held accountable. All we got to do is accept that we have been held accountable. We paid our pittance, and now we need to unify in order to escape the destruction of the unrighteous, because nothing unrighteous can ascend, only the righteous. And they're all humans. Check this. All humans now have the right to ascend. Don't mean they're going to ascend. That don't mean they're going to taste eternal life, because you have the right to eternal life. Only you can forego that. Some of them thought it was a joke, and literally for money, on the table, stacks of money, sold their soul. I found a way out for them. Mama said find a way out for them. Now, whether they wise enough to make allegiance to her or not is up to them. But they sold it. And now they are a permanent slave in eternity to Enlil. He bought it. You know who the devil is now. And you know why he can transform himself into an angel of light? Because he's an avian. He's an avian. When I say avian, I mean he's from a bird clan, a reptilian bird clan. He's a shapeshifter. He deceived Lilith twice. Neith. He pretended to be the Adam Cadmon who couldn't perform to get her drunk and try to rape her. She called his ass on his bullshit. Then he disgraced her and called for her to be judged. Then he pretended to be the son and shapeshifted and condemned his so-called sister and to the dismal abyss for 1,000 years. And they went on a smear campaign. They feared her. They called her a rebellious woman, just like her mom. I did the story of Lilith already. Go back and check it out. You know what I'm talking about. The unity doctrine is the only redemption for humanity as a collective. Otherwise, the only ones who will ascend are the ones who have been doing what is considered to be righteous, not by what no book say. Because righteousness is written in your heart. It's written on your soul. No book can tell you to do what you know in your heart is right. If a book tells you to do something you know in your heart is wrong, no matter how hard you try, something in you is going to rebel. Something you're going to rebel. Now, so the black people paid the price, a small group, and it caused a conflict among black people. Because some black people said, you assimilationist ass Negroes, all of y'all need to die too. Because they were sent by Enlil to undermine the program. Because he don't never want nothing associated with the woman to prosper. Every time the woman want to do something, he want to kill it. So we got to restore ice skating. We got to restore ballet. We got to restore the singing. We got to restore the dancing. Everywhere you look, we have to see singing and dancing women and children with no alcohol, no PSP, and no LSD, and no cocaine, no heroin, dancing and singing. You're going to immediately feel that energy. You're going to immediately feel that energy shifting. When we flip this grid, anything that ain't right won't stay. I'm going to say it again, because phone's going to be dead soon, and I only put enough on to do this video. I only want to charge enough. I want to cut off at the end of the video. It's about to do that. And so the ritual dance has to be specific. It has to be performed and written by the modern day women, incorporating old techniques and new techniques. In other words, tying alpha to omega. Y'all got to pay attention. Tying alpha to omega. Because as it was in the beginning, it has to be in the end. So now, all women have mitochondria. And the white man hate the white woman because she had the first right to ascend before him. Now you know. The white man hate the white woman because she had the right to ascend before him. Because her genetics was cleaned up first at the mitochondrial level. And she was able to give and receive love as a mother. And it pissed Enlil off. And he screamed, and they say his voice was like many waters, and it shook both the heaven and the earth. So now you know. Babylon versus Egypt. And this is why your Egyptian pantheon and your Egyptian story, if you go back, you'll remember in the story of Isaiah. No, not Isaiah. Elijah. And they poured all of this, they got all these priests out here trying to ignite this pyre of wood on fire. And he asked them about his Egyptian deities. Where your Egyptian guys now, huh? They ain't around, are they? Watch man. Fire. Same as in the story of Exodus, when they talk about the so-called Moses going there, and Moses is asking them, where are your Egyptian gods now? Never telling you Moses was an Egyptian god. Never telling you that the Moses that was raised in the Pharaoh's house was the Pharaoh to be, and became the Pharaoh. And that is this is why the Jews are waiting on Moses. Pay attention. The Jews are waiting on Moses because the Moses is the son of man. And they know that the Christ in the New Testament is not a man. So they're not waiting on her. The Zionists, as they call, the ones that wrote the protocols of the learned elders of Zion, which is the current blueprint for world domination that they following, not followed, past tense, ing, current tense. They're doing it now. If you see everything that they're controlling in the protocols, and you step back and you look at everything they control in real life, and they are exactly the same thing, it takes all of the guesswork out of it. It's the blueprint. But where did they get it? And who is these elders? These wise elders was a military contingent put together, not even in Israel. They was put together in the mountains of Europe where the catastrophe was discovered. And these people were called Khazars. They put together the protocols, the Khazarians. The Khazarians are not even human. They are Gulam, a whole race of Gulam, and they're trying to overthrow humans, both reptilian and mammalian humans. And they're trying to get in the middle of the conflict and put themselves as the rulers of it. But Enlil did that. Enlil did that. And so you have two other groups that didn't know what to do because of the war between the Moors and the Christians. the Islamic Moors and the Christians, they became Hebrews as Sephardi and Ashkenazi, and Sumerian tablets as the Absu. The Africans call it Zululand. And it also encompasses a very specific area called the Congo. That's the Holy Land. I'm telling y'all where the Holy Land at. If you don't believe me, go send some reporters to ask Credu Mutwa or Goodwill Zwilithini, where is the Holy Land? But I'm gonna tell you this, as soon as they ask them, they're gonna ask you where I am. They're gonna flat out say, where is he? If you ask either one of them two, they're gonna say, where is the son? They're gonna wanna know where I am for sending you to ask them. So whenever one of your reporters go over there and ask them, let them know that when they ask them, they're gonna wanna know where I'm at, and they're not gonna be friendly. All of that friendly shit gonna be gone as soon as you ask them these questions. Where is the real Holy Land? Is it Zululand and the Congo? When you ask them that, all of the game's gonna be done. There's nobody on the motherland gonna be nice to nothing that don't cooperate with me. And there's some shit over there y'all ain't never heard of or seen. When you see the story of Panther, and you read about Wakanda, when you see what they're talking about Wakanda.
Or camouflage. And the best camouflage to infiltrate a people is to raise one up that look like them, that ain't them. Right? So when you read about in the history books that these Moors was marrying these slaves and having children by them, and they was teaching them to take allegiance to them. And that's why they forbade the mother line and only honor the father line. Because when you father the child by somebody, if you erase their mother line, there's no matriarchal connection. Therefore, they will never identify themselves as a matriarchal people. That's exactly why they created the races. A race has a beginning and an end. Right? A race has a beginning and an end. Well, let me tell you, this is the end of all of the races. Because you're either human or you something else. And everything that look human, not human. Right? Everything that looks kinfolk ain't kinfolk. And everything that don't look kinfolk ain't always your enemy either. But it's some motherfuckers with the pink skin, just like it's some motherfuckers with the dark skin, can all get the same guillotine the same. Because they are classified collectively as the devil, the enemy. But the ones who are in the position of right, these what you call blood rights, blood ties to the land. What do they mean by blood ties to the land? That means that you organic to where you grew from. Your spirit was going to come back in whatever fucking body was on this bitch, suitable to facilitate your vibration so you can fix it. So the war came to us in 1492. So you see the banner that say 500 years of native resistance. 500 years of indigenous warfare. Right? Now, this could have been over many times, but people like me was always killed on the ground, so they could never exercise the birthright. Right? That's why our children in our communities die at an earlier age. Right? All of these things also does something as a side effect. See, we don't ever look at the side effect. We always look at the direct effect. Sometimes the side effect tells you the importance of the direct effect, of it allowing it to take place. The side effect of oppression is teenage pregnancy. Women, girls becoming pubescent at earlier and earlier ages. If girls come into puberty earlier, they have a more likelihood of producing children earlier. If they produce children earlier, that means that it's going to engage more of the elder women, because it got to be a condition where the men is minimized. These elder women in turn begin to teach the children how to resist based on the premises of the government they under. It don't matter what system they create. The law of nature will always adapt to that system to make it conform to the laws of nature when the right person is raised. Right? So now we are remolding this reality back to the laws of nature to override the laws of man. And these laws was the laws that governed the game and kept us in the subservient position, right? So it's a set number of personalities any culture can produce, because the law of nature has a wired in hierarchy or caste system, right? This is how the idea of royalty ever came into place. Alpha lines is what they call. The alpha line is the line that consistently produce the best candidate to resolve whatever it is. Every time, consistently. No matter what the problem is, this bloodline is going to adapt to find the solution by producing an offspring wired with the solution in him. Right. It's like Skywalker Ash was just saying white in other countries means status or class in society. That is correct. And one of the ways when we've discovered how it was being used was there's an Egyptian guy who came over here and they told him that he was white, right? And he didn't understand how he was being separated from us by him being called white and us being called black, which created a big uproar in the Middle East coming out of Egypt. But that's a whole nother story. The DNA test, if it's not a parental test, it's for entertainment purposes only. When you look in the fine print, it say this is for entertainment purposes only. I've seen a couple of them that said that. What that means is this: whatever narrative is required to steer the entertainment in the direction that the producer wants it to go, basically tell the story, he can control it. So they are notoriously not possible, first of all, to take your blood over here and say you related to somebody 1,000 miles away without having a sample of their blood as a control. And the way they doing it is they just telling people, send us your blood and we'll tell you your DNA, right? You might have found family with it, but that's an exception to the rule because they tell you it's for entertainment purposes, right? So what they will do is they will allow you to find some family because they got some testimonial to the validity of their bullshit. No contracts. All contracts are slave contracts. They all got some shit in there. The fact that you making the contract automatically puts you in the creditor-debtor scenario. Baby Hoove. I think I gave them a pretty good understanding of this game called life and how it...
What's up, man?
You got it, you got it. Where you calling from?
New Orleans.
From the NO. That's what's up. What brings you in today? What's your name?
There. My name is Rip.
Did you say Rip?
Rip.
R-I-F?
R.I.P.
Okay. Hey, look, that's what we used to call my nephew. So what you want to talk about today?
Whatever, bro. It's all on you, man. I'm trying to hear your knowledge.
You got any questions? You got anything you want to know about specifically?
Rules of the universe, karma.
I've been already talking about that. That's what most of the video about.
Karma.
Yeah, all that's part of the game.
Preach on it to me.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take somebody else if they got some questions. You keep watching, and maybe we touch on some more, get some more detail about that with some of these other questions.
Thanks.
All right, fam.
All right.
Peace, God. How you doing? Appreciate
Good. Loving them dreads, boy.
it. I mean, appreciate it. Now, hey, I cut it before because it was a spell casted on me. Back when my lower self, I didn't really know who I was. But yo, about this game. So you said, the Europe black nobility conquistadors. Like
Mhm.
when you like, so how did they even like start? And like, can you just elaborate a little bit more on that? And I just want to know about the voodoo
Wait.
game.
Well, slow down, slow down. You say, how did they start? Start what?
Like with the infiltrate, like how did they infiltrate us? Like I
Okay,
know they
so
like us and shit. Like, go ahead.
okay, so when we go back to what our ancestors were saying, they was making agreements with us. They was marrying into our clans,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the whole time they had the intent to sell us out.
All right.
Right? That was their goal from the beginning. Now, they didn't only use one technique. They used the outright military attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand what Cortez was doing when he was slaughtering motherfuckers looking for Cordoba.
Cadoba, and that was one of our leaders.
Cordoba was the city of gold.
City. Okay. Okay. Cadoba was the city of gold.
Okay,
And we're
now, hmm?
Cadoba was in the, like on this land right here that we in right now.
It was the
What we
city
call.
that, it was the Atlantean city that flew away.
Okay.
They called it the Crystal City in the Bible.
Okay. Crystal City. Crystal City. And then one more joint. Like you said, it's a voodoo game. And if you're not, you need to be tapped into that. So can you like? Because I don't really know how to. With the researching thing, it's hard. It's hard to really research stuff because I don't really know what is real and what's not.
Listen,
Go ahead.
the voodoo game that they was playing, Conjure War,
Mm-hmm.
is high magic. Because I know high magic, I can see it when it's being done.
Okay.
I know that they told us that voodoo was evil, wicked, and we should stay away from it.
Right.
But I also know that we was doing voodoo thousands of years before they brought a Bible.
Facts.
Now, I also know that when they brought their Bible was when they decided that voodoo was something they didn't want us to know. When I studied voodoo, I found that voodoo is the application of the laws of nature to manifest your best life.
Okay.
Right?
And voodoo.
That's the purpose of it.
Uh-huh.
Now, people became selfish and started using something called low magic. Low magic is using base elemental magic to control other people, right?
Right.
So they was taking low magic and they was using low magic on a mass scale,
That's basically
right?
like code lockdown. Low magic.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now, while the people are being victimized by the low magic, they doing something to keep the higher ranking of the people in a narcotic state. It's called bloodletting rituals.
Bloodletting rituals.
Right. Because angels in human form don't like the smell of blood, and the adrenaline from adrenochrome makes them senselessly angry.
Okay.
And they'll just start tearing up shit.
All right.
But the bloodletting ritual keeps them narcotized. Kingu, that's exactly the spell called Kingu. The Nuwabians identified the name of it.
Okay.
Okay, so once you start using voodoo, the spell can't work on you because you're finding balance with yourself as the first frame of reference. And as soon as one of us balance out to the laws of nature, perfect. She using us. Ain't no question about it.
Right.
I've been waiting on one of y'all.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So now you start coming out of the spell in reverse, you can smell the blood in the atmosphere of the children, the slaughterhouses, the mass bloodletting rituals. Right? You can smell it in the atmosphere. It's repugnant. It's like smelling it's not like a repellent like a skunk. It's like smelling real strong urine.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
In a real hot place with very low ventilation.
Yeah, so that's shit.
And it give you a migraine headache. And
So
it make your muscles start to stiffen. It's bad. But you got to go through it to wake up. You can't wake up without smelling that blood in the morning, 3 a.m. while they doing it. Well, they not doing them now, but they was doing them rituals. Because Big Mama needs you to know what you fighting against.
Right.
So she got to wake you through the trauma that the world is going through.
All right. That makes total sense. So like
Now,
you got, all right, go ahead.
Once you come through the trauma, your anger is kindled. If you're not balanced, you can't control it. If you're not balanced, you can't control it. You are in 100-mile-an-hour rage with no direction. You just gonna tear some shit up.
Even
and this
your
is
own
why you won't know you won't know who to attack.
I am.
Right? Because
Right.
all the intellectual teaching is that our enemy don't look like us.
Right.
But the spiritual knowledge says they look like us and some of them don't. Right? So the spiritual knowledge overrides what these people saying. Those who want you to continue vibrating at a low frequency are going to keep pushing the race issue. Tell them the race is over. Tell them the race is over in the gorilla war.